welcome to the Shamrock Quilt Studio. I'm here today to run down the supplies that you're going to need for our Purple Pursuit project. This is an EPP quilt top, and you will be able to finish it whatever shape and size that you would like for it to be. We're going to start with a jelly roll of fabric. Jelly rolls are a collection of fabrics that are cut in 2.5-inch wide strips. And this is going to be perfect for the size we're using because it will keep your cutting to a minimum. The one that I'm going to use as the demonstration is a selection of varied purple pattern fabrics. This one is a pastel with solids. You can choose whichever you like. Next on the list of supplies is you're going to need at least one package of honeycomb shaped paper pieces. Now this one is a pack of 100 pieces, and it comes from the company paper pieces, but you can really cut your own or get them from another source if you like. You're also going to need one package, and these were 1-inch honeycombs. You're also going to need a package of 1-inch square pieces to work in with this design. And to show you what these look like, that's the honeycomb. It's 1 inch across and 1 inch down all the sides. And then it has the angle here and a wider angle here. And then the squares, it's just what it implies. It's a 1-inch square. You could use more of these if you like, or you can repeat using these pieces as you assemble your quilt. Now, something that you don't have to have, but will make it easier, is some type of hole punch. So you can punch a hole in the middle of these shapes, and that will help you to get the pieces out a little bit easier. So that's optional. Then you're going to need either a pair of scissors or a rotary cutter to cut your strips into smaller pieces to use for the actual assembly. Scissors at a minimum. It would be nice to have a rotary cutter if you have that. Then of course you're going to need some type of clip. These are the ones that I prefer. It's a little bulldog clip. But it is possible to do this project just with straight pins. If you can get the knack of it, you can put these pieces together and thread baste them by hand without any clips. Or you could glue baste these. I'm not going to go into detail about glue basting, but you could find some information on that by Googling it or seeing another YouTube channel if you'd like. We may cover that at a future time, but we will not cover it for this particular project. And then of course you're going to need some thread and some type of hand sewing needle. Now I would recommend that either you use a thread that is color coordinated with the jelly roll that you're using, or if you don't want to switch out threads and you want to make this easier, for the basting, you can use anything that's a lighter color than your fabric. So if you're using fabric that's dark blue, for example, you could use any color that is lighter than that dark blue. And then for the assembly, I would recommend that you either try to color coordinate it, and if you can't, use a shade of gray that would blend into it. So if you're using rich dark colors, use a darker gray, and if you're using lighter colors or pastels, then you'd use a light shade of gray. Those are my recommendations. And then a needle that you're comfortable sewing with. Usually I either use the Quilter's Betweens or the Applique Sharps. And these are about the same length. The Sharps are just a little bit longer. These are called 20s. They're size 7 for the Betweens and size 9 for the Sharps. And they have kind of a medium opening for the head. If you have problems threading your needles, you might want a head that's a little bit bigger to make that easier for you. And I think that's the basic supplies. I always recommend a crochet hook or some other type of cylinder item to get your papers out. You can use the tip of your scissors if you're very careful. You just don't want to poke a hole through that fabric. You could use a small pencil. You could use a bobby pin. A tiny little straw might work as well. But this by far is going to be your easiest tool to use, and they're relatively inexpensive. Or you may even have one hanging around from another project. And that should get us started. Now, we've not addressed anything in this project about batting or backing. Our goal is to work with EPP patterns, the assembly, and then constructing a top, and then we will go from there as far as how we finish it up. If you wanted a bigger project, you're obviously going to need more fabric, either in something that coordinates or in a second jelly roll. But one jelly roll will get you started, and if you don't have access to a jelly roll, then for example, for purposes of calculating how much fabric you may want to purchase, if you're going to cut your own strips, this particular jelly roll says it is 20 pieces and the strips are 2.5 inches by 42 inches long. I think the jelly roll that I'm using may have been a few more strips than this. I don't recall at this time exactly how many were in the package, but that should give you a good idea. And like I said, it'll get you started. If you pick a fabric, most anything you could find a solid color fabric to go along with what you have, to coordinate to it. If you wanted to make it in a shape, or if you wanted to make it in a rectangle for a table runner, you could do that. If you wanted a baby quilt, a jelly roll is a good place to start for a jelly roll, a baby quilt, because it is a smaller size. And so those are the supplies you're going to need for this project. And then we will go from there, showing processes to start on this, to construct the pieces and put the pieces together, to design the pattern that you're going to use, through assembly of all or most of the pieces that are created through this. And then from there, you can finish as you desire, or we will follow up and show you how I'm going to finish ours. Thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope it was helpful. I look forward to seeing you through this series as we work on this project. And be sure to like us and subscribe to the channel so you will get the videos on this project. Thank you so much. See you next time.